before we get into the actual, like, current events of the chapter and the hype that was going on for, I'm trying to remember how to pronounce her name. Debonair, I think that's literally just how to pronounce it. There was the whole beginning portion with the mayor, the one werewolf, and the witch that showed up. You know, the two of them destroyed the hamlet, and the way that they were talking, I'm so curious if it was done at a meta level or if it's just the wording of what they were doing. They're saying like, oh no, you changed the script pretty much. You have the like the dude, and he's like talking about like, oh yeah, the goal of the red list is the same as yours, but don't take us as anything like allies or anything. You know, you're still against us. Like the werewolf dude is pissed. I wonder why he doesn't really like the mayor though so much, because like he seemed to like warriors and fighters, but like maybe it's because he did whatever like they're referring to that that bothered him. Like they're saying it's like, you know, you edited the script, and again I'm so curious if they're breaking meta or if it's something in the story. Like, if it's something that is, like, an actual magic book or something, or if, like, they literally mean that, like, he somehow edited the script and plan in the manga itself. Because, like, he didn't say stuff like, oh, the characters, and they're saying, like, all you did was, waste precious page space. But it'll be so weird if it is at a meta level, just because it'll feel so strangely out of nowhere, and at the same time it'd be like, well, then what's the plan? Like, what is the general idea of where that sits if it is going to be giving information at a level of meta that, like, the characters would understand they're in a story or something like that? Just because it's weird sometimes when characters do that, like, in a story. And the only time really that I can think of like that where it's used and not done in a like nearly as much of a silly way is something like Medica Box, but Medica Box is a parody. It's just a parody that takes it, like, that has a serious tone most of the time. That's the one that leads to me, because I know there's, like, obviously a lot of fourth wall breaking and stuff in other series, but they're generally in things that are more comedic. Like, not like, it doesn't have to be gag characters, but ones that aren't just nearly as serious all the time. And we don't know, like, the full scale of this series, so it's kind of hard to use. Maybe it'll be something like, because it's supposed to be set around like fairy tales and stuff, there's going to be some form of book that can alter reality. Like there's just some super fairy tale book that has like a lot of the information listed on it. I don't really know. Like that's again something that we're going to have to wait to see. I'm genuinely really liking the story so far. Like the whole scene. Maybe like that's what like they're talking about, is like the author decided initially like maybe it was just going to be werewolves and stuff, and he's like, actually, you know what? Let's just pump it up. And then we started getting all these other monsters and all these other things. We're starting to get more fights and powers. Well, like, we got a little bit at the start, but it was a little bit unsure in the first couple chapters. I can't say, like, suddenly, like, they altered things to give people power and stuff, where it's like, one Grimm clearly had stuff at the beginning, and we just didn't really go anywhere to see stuff. And this is still only chapter 8, so it's not like some crazy shift 50 chapters in. Like, I just, for instance, like, thinking into, like, the story structure of Hitman Reborn, where it's like, once it got to, God, what is his name? The freaking illusion dude. Like, it's weird, because it's like, he's the, I have it on the tip of my tongue. I'm trying to remember right now, but, like, 'cause there's the guy that is similar to him, Damon Spade. But anyway, I don't want to say that too much, but it's like, well, I think it was, like, after the first couple, like, little adventures, it actually gained, like, a serious plot piece story, whereas, like, this doesn't seem like it's like the same thing. Whereas like Hitman Reborn, for those who haven't read it, it started out a little bit slice of life gaggy, and then kind of decided it was gonna have a serious plot. Whereas like this series has been serious from the start. Either way, again, I just want to put that on the back burner. Like, what's gonna go on with that whole like talking about the script and page count and stuff? Like, is that a meta thing, or is that just a inverse thing when the wording seems meta-ish? But there's like a couple like little bits, like it's been 10 weeks, you have like the one dude Bonkers, he's still around, and you have this new dude Mariopius, who's like this odd guy who seems to be afraid of a lot of stuff. Like he has a fear of leftovers, and he has a fear of like sleeping too close to the ceiling. Just a weird dude. I don't want to stick on those ones too much, because a lot of the stuff where it was just that was just like, okay, introducing some characters. There's like a part where we're saying that there's it's the name says like it's a test once they get off the train, and you have to get off at their headquarters, which is a really cool looking headquarters. It's got like these two, I don't know if they're supposed to be like big, I don't remember what they're called, not silos, but kind of like those big chimneys they have at factories. I can't remember what they're called off the top of my head, but like that going all the way up the clouds, or they're that or like mountainous plateaus. Either way, it looks really cool. So it's like either you get off there when you pass the test, or you have to return and do the 3-month training all over again. I would assume that at that point, if you failed the last thing, if you were still determined to be a hunter, it would just be like, okay, whatever. It would suck because you spent like half a year on a fail, but you would get all that training, and it would just mean that the next time you're going to be way better off. Like, I would assume that if you managed to at least get to that point, to the very end, and then all the way back, you would be in so much better shape than when you got on, and it would just be like, all right, I just got to keep improving until the next time, and then, you know, do your thing. But they're saying how now is the final test, and what they're going to pretty much do is cops and robbers. It's one of those things where, like, they were talking to, like, Velu was talking to Tilden. He's like, oh, you know, what's the final exam? And it was like, oh, no, it's not the same every time, you know, one of those scenarios, so I can't really say what it's going to be. And Debonair's like, oh, it's cops and robbers. And her and Grimm are going to pretty much try and capture, like, as many people as possible, put them in jail. They have 3 hours to escape and not get caught by her. I'm wondering if they're going to give him a head start, because based off of, like, the capabilities of what Debonair and Grimm are, you know, they've shown, I would assume if the characters don't get a head start or, like, some form of way to actually keep distance, like, they're just going to get caught immediately, logically, because, like, the stat difference, like, the capability difference, like, the experience, like, I would assume if, like, they're just like, hey, all right, go, and then, like, they're going to immediately just sprint at them, they would, like, be way faster, way quicker to react. Their ability to predict people's, like, movement based off, like, their body language and stuff, they should be able to catch them relatively easy, I would assume, if that was the case. But I don't think that's going to be the case, because I figured it, like, for a minute, it was like, okay, we're going to start this chapter, but once we started to get near the end, and it was like, okay, we still haven't started, and then there was, like, some big monster show up, I was able to put a couple pieces together. It was like, okay, the title of the chapter, Hot-Blooded Debonair, and then a monster showing up. It was going to be one of those power display moments, like, we're going to see exactly what she's capable of, and I really like that, because they're, like, explaining she also is affected by a curse, and the people in your, you know, depending on whether you have a, you know, a hindering curse, or in her case, a curse that she was able to harness and utilize to the full capabilities of, like, how she can pretty much weaponize it. And you have, wait, they say 2 hours. The test is 2 hours, not 3 hours. So the last hour is probably like a chill hour, and, like, maybe, like, they'll feast and have a good time before they get there. Like, congratulations to anybody that passed. I know Velu is going to pass. It'd be really weird if he didn't, but, like, the other characters are going to be the kind of the question mark. I'm hoping Tilty and Milty both pass. I don't know about Bonkers or this Mariopis guy or whatever his name is. But Grimm explains that the curse that Debonair has is like a heat curse, where she just emits a lot of body heat. Her regular body heat is like 120 degrees Fahrenheit. And while she's doing this, you have this giant monster show up. They said it was a, like, sea butterfly number 13, a kraken class creature, and it's this tidal wave manta ray. This really big creature, probably like the size of, like, a couple city blocks. Like, this thing's a big monster, and it's just creating tidal waves just by coming up. And Debonair ends up putting on this, like, really cool outfit. I really like her like, big set of, like, metal gauntlets, and she's got, like, this sick rail kind of, like, collar on around her, like, face guard, and she, like, jumps out there, and she heats up to 1,500 degrees. I think it's, I can't remember what it is. I think it's 2,800 is, like, where metal starts to melt, like steel or iron. So she's definitely, you know, blazing up there. And she just goes and pretty much one-taps this thing. It just goes and demolishes this creature. I wonder if she killed it or just kind of, like, knocked it out in one go. But now the characters are, like, seeing what she's capable of. She's actually, like, I don't know if it would count as flying, because she, like, jumped all the way over there, and then she looks like she's using the heat to essentially kind of hold herself place, like she's just using that level of heat to push her off the ground a little bit, kind of like you've seen stuff, characters, like, using other sort of Human Torch and stuff like that. Essentially like a little rocket, and then kind of come back, and the other they're like, okay, let's do this, back to the exam, let's fight, and the other character's like, No. Like, the other characters, like, assuming everybody is Velu level or above, or at least generally around that, they're going to have, like, superhuman stats. Like, they're not going to be, like, you know, something crazy. Like, we've seen Velu. Velu definitely has, like, a degree of, like, obviously above human capabilities, like, just from his physical strength, his reaction speed and stuff, like, his level of, just general skills and stuff, like, everything that he's shown. But, like, that's at least in a range where it's like, okay, you know, you're something that is grounded enough that it's like, okay, you're not something too crazy. Like when we saw Grim and like Grim knocking over these big monsters and blocking hits from that massive werewolf, that was like where we see like, okay, characters like this are going to be way above like the regular Joes. So what Velu actually is going to do and get like a power, now that I think about it, is going to be witch. It's like, shouldn't he get a hex at some point? Shouldn't he get cursed and get a power from a witch? Because otherwise, like, how is he going to ever kind of like compete at levels like these characters? Maybe that'll be something later down the line. I'm really hoping that this series survives. I think it's actually been really fun. I like the character designs. I really like the art. I like the style. It's been a really enjoying series for the first 8 chapters. Like the first few were a little bit slow, but I think that was part of it, just based off of like the conversation the witch was having when, or the werewolf was having with the mayor at the start, and they were talking about like changing the script or something. Again, I don't know if that was at a meta level, if that was something inverse, but we'll see. Either way, fun stuff. I really like this bit. We're gonna be getting like probably like 2 chapters of them playing cops and robbers, and then we'll see who passes. I assume Velu's gonna pass. We'll see about the other characters, and then we'll get to headquarters and see where the first bit of the story is gonna actually go once Velu is a hunter. Like, what's the first like arc going to be? The first couple chapters, like of, okay, we're going here. Here's a boss character. Defeat the boss character. Whatever variables are going on in it. I'm excited to see, because I've liked where the author has been going so far, and I want to see like where their like, again, arc structure goes. Because like once you get like the beginning and stuff, when you have like training and exposition and stuff, that's one thing. But once you get to like the story is where things are gonna obviously like I would assume give a lot of people's stances and stakes on this series. But anyway, other than that, don't comment below, thumbs up the video with the like button, subscribe, and check out my other videos. But in that, I appreciate everybody's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening. Bye.